welcome to my penultimate Japan vlog. Let's go. Still Indonesia. My last Japanese vlog was about my experience of living in Japan for a year. This video is going to be about reasons to teach English in Japan, and my next video will be about reasons not to teach English in Japan. Just a disclaimer, I taught at an eikaiwa. I taught students of all ages and ability levels. I taught group and private classes, and I taught about almost everything. Okay, so at the very beginning of 2018, I was applying for student affairs jobs in the United States. Basically, I wanted to work for a university, and most of my search efforts were looking at housing and residence life and sexual violence prevention education. I applied for like 30 schools, had a bunch of interviews, no job offers. I even flew all the way out to Colorado for an interview. And you know, I really wasn't getting those positions because I was a white male and they value diversity. But at the end of the day, I didn't have any options, and I started thinking, I was like, well, Anthony, you have international friends, you've never lived abroad, you like to travel, you like anime, maybe you should go to Japan. But I was still on the fence about it, and I started to think to myself, Anthony, you have a coin. One side is you go to Japan, the other side is you stay in the States and you work for housing. And I imagined myself flipping the coin, and it was at that moment I was like, I didn't even have to know where the coin landed. I knew that if it landed in America, I would be disappointed, and if it landed on Japan, I would be ecstatic. And here we are, over a year and a half later, and I don't regret the decision at all. I learned more living in Japan than I would have learned living in America. But in researching teaching abroad, I came across a video that was about escapism. If I can find the link, I'll link it for you. And the guy was like, don't go to Japan to run away from your problems, basically. And I agree, for the most part, but I was escaping. I was escaping white culture. I was escaping. I was getting away from everything I knew, everything I trusted, and everything I believed in, to give myself the opportunity for something new, God forbid. I would like to hear somebody's opinion on this, but like, look at politics, and in America, why do Republicans live in the countryside and Democrats live in cities? I'm from Ohio, and that's the way it's charted out. Is it just that if you live in a city, you have more access to different opinions and cultures, and that makes you more liberal? Like, is that it? Is that all it takes? I don't know. Let me know. Why does this happen? New location for dynamic interaction. Reason two, if you're a curious person, if you like to learn, if you like to do new things, study abroad, teach abroad. You're most likely not a trained English teacher. If you're watching this video, you learn how to teach. And if you don't know how to teach, you fake it until you make it. There were times when I was not prepared to teach a class. Maybe I didn't have the lesson, or I didn't have good questions, or I wasn't emotionally ready, and you go in and you figure it out. Some people are better at thinking on their feet than others, and if you're not good at thinking on your feet, then you'll learn. Your brain is flexible. And in the same vein, as a teacher, in any scenario, you ask questions. And as an English teacher, the questions about life are like the most important questions. I always told my students, your ability to express your own thoughts and opinions is one of the most important parts of being able to speak English. So for an entire year, I just got to ask any question to a wide variety of Japanese people. We're talking about food cultures, talking about politics, talking about religions, history. I talked about World War II with my students. I learned that there's a lot of national pride in Japan. I learned that Japanese people hate Chinese people and Korean people, and that Korean people also hate Chinese and Japanese, and Chinese also hate Japanese and Koreans. And it's this big love triangle in East Asia of just happiness and prosperity. I learned about different holidays. Like, Japan has like 11 Monday holidays. Like 11 weeks of the year, they have 3-day weekends. Something ridiculous like that, and most of them don't know what holiday it is. They're just like, oh, it's a holiday. And I said, what for? And they're like, I don't know. Dynamic interaction. To sum that point up, if you're curious and you love to learn and you love to ask questions, teach abroad. it's your best opportunity, maybe. Teaching abroad will teach you how to be an introvert and an extrovert. If you're a teacher, you need to be energetic, you need to be engaging. Humor is amazing, you need to interact. It's a customer service, right? Being happy-go-lucky Anthony for 6 hours a day was exhausting. I loved it. My students enjoyed it, but it was exhausting. But at the same time, when you're in a foreign country, you're likely not to have a lot of friends, so before and after work, you don't see your family, you don't see your friends, you sit in your room, or you walk around. If you live in a big city, it can be different, but I lived in the countryside. I had around 17 hours of quiet alone time every day. 16, 15 hours maybe? And then on the weekend, sometime I didn't even leave my apartment. I'm a homebody, I like it. And if you live in a big city in Japan, reasons to teach in Japan, the big cities are diverse and amazing. I did not live in a big city. If you like helping people, this is a good opportunity. I was teaching doctors, I was teaching nurses, I was teaching students, and I was helping them achieve their life goals and dreams. Don't get a savior complex, but that's pretty cool. That being said, if you hate customer service though, it's different. It's different than working in a restaurant. Oh yeah. If you've never had the opportunity to work with children, teach abroad. I learned so much from teaching children from 3 years old to 85 years old. And just being able to be a goofy person and making little kids laugh was just so much fun. You only see them for an hour, so if they get grumpy, they leave. They interact with you on such an honest, unadulterated way. When they laugh, they crack up, they're dying, they're not reserved, they don't have some of the self-consciousness of other older people. I miss my young children. They were one of the best parts of my trip. Job. I said escape before, and I'm really thinking about it. To escape the mundanity of your average existence. Let that sink in. Just stop doing the same thing all the time. I stopped doing the same thing, and look where I am. What can I possibly say to convince you that this is a good thing? Yeah, I'm not in Japan, but you can teach in Indonesia. And Japan has beautiful places. Okay, motivational speaking aside, if you live in the countryside, at least in Japan, I was able to save quite a bit of money. On average, I was pocketing over half of my income. I think I was making around $28,000. So cost of living is not too bad. If you live in a big city, just know you might come out of that having made no money. I lived a little frugally, I cooked most of my own food, but I did travel. Look at this cool plant. That's awesome. This next reason is a little goofy. If you love to do new things, but you hate traveling, teach abroad. Teaching in Japan isn't traveling. You very much move in. My father called me really early on and he said, Anthony, how are you? What's going on? And I was like, honestly, everything is normal. I go to work, I come home, I have a kitchen, I cook, I have a bed, so I can just sit down and watch Netflix, I can play video games, I can do whatever I want because I'm living here. So it's not traveling. It's the different culture, different foods and everything like that, but you're not getting on planes, you're not getting on buses, you're not taking trains and all this other stuff all the time. It's not go, 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 go. There's literally tons of free time. I've heard this from other teachers too. Especially if you just come out of college. I worked for 6 hours a day, which is not a lot. And then when I went home, I didn't have any homework. So I made videos, I slept, I played video games. My coworker, he reads. You can learn a new language. My old coworker was studying code to be a developer. It can actually give you the opportunity to do something else that you love, because your job shouldn't define your entire life. I am on this big journey right now of arguing that people shouldn't live to work. Hi, Mr. Cow. Sun got hot. So if you live in a place like Indonesia, I teach online right now and I make $16 an hour, and that's so much money here. 1 hour of teaching buys me food for over 2 days. Think about that. So like, why would I go to America, work my ass off for 40 hours a week to live basically in poverty? This is literally where I'm talking to you. Like, what? Seriously? Hello, person relaxing on their couch. Well, the point being in that last statement is it gives you the opportunity to do more than just work or just study. This last reason, I don't know if it applies to me per se, but teaching abroad gives you the opportunity to become a new person, to quite literally act the way you want to act, do what you want to do. When we live in the same place for so long, you know, doing anything different, you know, people might think you're weird, but when you're in a new place with new people, it's like when you go to college for the first time. You leave all of your high school friends behind, and you can kinda transform, yeah, because nobody's judging you, because nobody knows who you are. Like, if you have a bunch of bad relationships with people, literally running to a different country gets you away from those people. I'm not speaking from experience. I have wonderful friends and family back home, and I'm lucky, but quite literally, you can run away from your problems, find new friends, start something new. That seems like really escapist, but people need to move on sometimes. And if you live in a small town or even a city, like, people leave. Change your environment. That seems like a radical idea, but it shouldn't be. Should it be? I want opinions on this. I want opinions on all of it. One of my last reasons is, like, you should teach abroad if you're literally any age. Why not? Why not? Give me excuses. Oh, I'm 40 years old. I can't learn a new task. Like, just, if you want to do it, just do it. Oh, I'm only 18. I don't have any teaching experience. When I'm 40 years old, who knows? Maybe I pick up soccer. Like, it doesn't matter. There are plenty of reasons not to, but like, age? You bring so many different experiences to the table if you're older. Maybe you're not a better teacher. I'm not saying you're gonna be a better teacher, but maybe you have different idioms, different styles, different energy. All right, I think that's everything. I'm gonna end it there. Thanks for stopping by. The next and maybe last video will be about reasons not to teach English in Japan. I love you all. Subscribe if that's what you're into. I'm also thinking about starting a Patreon page. Let me know if that'd be something you're interested in. I don't know. Might as well ask. See you next time.